in an urn for a memorial service. It will actually be used at church on Sunday and then for a memorial service afterwards. And it's in celebration of the life of a sweet little lady. And so I thought we would do that together. When you come on, tell us hello, tell us how you're doing, and tell us where you're from. Again, I apologize for being a few minutes late. You know, technology. We're going to get it one day. We'll get it all together, but that's all right. Thank you for being so patient with us. So we are live on both Facebook and YouTube today. So hello everybody. Miss Victoria is here with me. So if you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to ask those questions. And please tell me hello if you have not already, and we will get started. So I am going to use what we call a disposable urn. So this is just a plastic urn that we order from our supplier, and it works perfect for a church arrangement. We also use it as a liner when we use some of our larger urns. We will take the bottom off of it, drop it down in one of our urns, and then when they're finished using one of ours, they'll just pull it home. I put about a third down here at the bottom because I like for my foam to stick out a little bit at the top because it gives me a little bit more surface area to design in. So I put about a third of a block down here. I put a full block in, and then I kind of wedged it in with another little bit of foam just because it kind of keeps that foam from wiggling back and forth. I filled my reservoir with fresh water. Remember, and I say this often, but always be sure to soak that floral foam before you design with it. And important because if you don't soak that foam, you're going to clog those flowers and they're not going to hold. I'm going to take a little bit of waterproof tape, and I'm going to tape that foam down into this container. So I just came all the way across the top, and then I am going to do a second piece across the other way. So it's crisscrossed, okay? So it's kind of got 4 points where it's taped, and that's going to help with us delivering these flowers. It's going to help hold them together, and if in case they want to take these flowers home with them, we just need to make sure that it doesn't fall apart, okay? Next, we're going to start. Any questions, Victoria? I'm just talking and talking.
You have a lot of hellos.
Hey guys, I'm glad you're here.
Gail says, where have you been? I haven't seen you in months. I missed you.
Have mercy, Miss Gail. We've been here, friend. Yeah, we've been here. I don't know that we've done anything different, but I'm glad you made it live today. I'm so glad you're here. So I'm going to start using leather leaf, and so I'm going to green out this container with a little bit of leather leaf. So I'm actually going to use my fingernail because that's just, I found it's always the best. So I'm just breaking that leather leaf in 2 pieces, and I am going to start greening out this container. I'm just taking my floral knife and cutting that stem at an angle. Got my little handy dandy trash can over here. And I am just I'm going to make a fan-shaped arrangement. And so it's going to be shaped like a fan. It's a one-sided arrangement for an altar. And so that's why we always kind of make them in a fan shape. I'm just taking that leather leaf, and I am just using my floral knife, cutting that stem at an angle, and tucking it right down into that floral foam.
Dolores Harrison says, I am so happy to watch you arrange today.
Hello, Miss Dolores. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're here with me. So I am just taking several pieces of this leather, and I am just greening out the entire piece. I do have some pretty greenery too, but I always find leather makes it easy. Makes it easy. Ooh, that one broke.
On YouTube, Chris says good evening, and Diane says hello from England. It's 10 p.m. here.
Hello, friends. Hello, hello. Thank you for being here with me so late in the evening. I'm so glad you're here, Miss Diane. Okay, so there is my leather leaf. Now, remember to always turn that container around and add greenery to the back. Now, it's important that the back, you don't see all that foam, because it's kind of like seeing your slip underneath that dress. Go ahead and add a little bit of foliage to the back side, just so that if in case they see the back side, that it looks nice, okay? So there we go. We've got our leather leaf in place. I'm going to turn it back around because I've got my mechanics covered. I'm going to turn it back around, and I am going to come in with a little bit of lemon leaf. I got it mixed in with all my other stuff, kind of throwing it on the floor. So this is salal or lemon leaf. So salal is just a pretty greenery, and we call it lemon leaf because it kind of looks like the greenery that would be on a lemon tree. So I'm gonna just take it. Now you can kind of see it's got some broken places, so I'm just pulling that off and throwing that away. I'm just taking it and cutting it up in small pieces and just tucking a little here and there. What it does is really just give us another texture, which I really like. I like that when you use mixed greens, it kind of gives us another texture in our arrangement. Now you have to be kind of careful when you're using your floral knife cutting this salal. It's a little woody, a bit of a woody stem, so the stem is a little harder than like leather leaf to cut. And so be careful with your floral knife because you can certainly cut your finger. Okay, so now see, this is the reason I have never just loved lemon leaf, because this is the kind of stem you get, which is so not my very favorite, because you wind up having to just cut it all apart. This came from a different grower, and so it's a little differently cut than what I've been using lately. So it's a little ragged, but that's okay. Okay, so there's our lemon leaf in place. Next, I'm going to come in with this palm. Now, is it sago palm? Is that what this is called? Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. I don't use it very often. I think it's sago palm, but I could be completely off. But it is a type of palm, but it's really a very narrow palm, but very pretty. I think it's going to be very fun and give us a lot of texture in this arrangement. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to strip these bottom fronds off. So I'm just taking my hands, and I said I was going to strip it. I'm just pulling off the bottom fronds. Are both cameras working, Victoria?
Oh, yes.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure.
Miss Julia says, joined late from Bonnie, Scotland.
Hello.
What are you making?
So this is an arrangement for a church service on Sunday, and then it will also be used for a memorial service in the afternoon. And so she wanted a beautiful arrangement for a lady. So that's what we're doing. Just some pastels with pinks and purples and a little bit of white. So I'm just pulling off these fronds because they're just a little long. The palm branches are a little long, so I'm pulling off the fronds. You have to be a little careful with this type of palm because there's little points at the end of all these fronds, and it kind of bites just a little bit. So just be kind of careful when using it.
Mildred says, I watch a lot. I am from Jamestown, Tennessee. Love your arrangement.
Oh, Miss Mildred, thank you, ma'am. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much. Okay, so there is our greenery. I do have some eucalyptus that we'll add in the end, and our eucalyptus is going to soften the edge of this container. But we will add that at the end. First, we're going to come in with some stock. I've got a peachy or a pinky colored stock. I don't have enough room to spread all my flowers out. Okay, so we've got this pretty stock. And we're going to start out with this as our line flower. So I'm going to take and I'm going to figure out, that one's kind of got a broken tip. So I'm actually going to put that one closer in the center. I'm going to set that one to the side for a second. So I'm going to take my floral knife. I'm cutting that stem at an angle. And I am going to tuck that first stalk in the center. So this is going to determine our height. Next, I'm going to come in with a second stem, and I'm just going to stair step it down in this arrangement. So you can see I've got one tall, and I'm going to come down just a step with a second stem. And you're going to want to remove any foliage that kind of falls below that water line. So there's our second stem. I have 7 stems. Nope, 6 stems of stock. So the third stem we are going to stair step down. So you can see 1, 2, 3. And then we'll take one to make this. The next 2 stems are actually going to determine the width of our arrangement. Yes, ma'am.
They want to know what you're making. Several people came in a little late.
Okay, this is a church arrangement. So we're just making an altar arrangement. So these last 2 stems are going to determine the width of our arrangement. So I'm just taking my floral knife and I'm cutting them at an angle. And that one has a broken tip also.
Melanie Gomez asks, is the salal listed as salal tips or papoose salal? That's what we get offered.
This is probably, I always order it as tips. This actually came from our greenery truck out of Florida. And I just told him I just wanted 10 bundles of mixed greens. So that's where the palm came from and this variety of salal. I prefer the tips over whatever this is. I think these are more like branches. I prefer the tips just because it's a little easier to work with. Okay, so you can see where I tucked in my line. I have my height here, and then I have my width here, and then I kind of filled in with the last 3 stems. So there is our stock. Next we are going to come in with some lilies. So I have some beautiful white lilies. They're not all very open, but they will open. This service is not until Sunday. So I am going to take my lilies, and if they're cracked open, I'm going to go ahead and pull the pollen out of these lilies. Now the reason I'm doing that is because it's going to stain these lilies as it opens. So it will just mark the lilies and have them yellow. Okay.
Mark says aloha from Hawaii.
Hello, Mark. Thank you for being here.
Frequent watcher of your catalog. Love how you've greened this arrangement.
Thank you, thank you. So actually, that one has broken off, which is sad to me. So I just pulled this bloom. I'm going to actually take it to the back, and we're going to tuck it in a vase of water. And we're not using this stem at all. It has actually broken all the way down. So this stem is going to the side. You know, sometimes you just have to keep going. Okay, so see how these have cracked open? I'm just going to take and remove the pollen.
Dawn Miller asks, do you do the same churches every week?
Dawn, this is actually just a special order. This is for a little country church. And I don't know. I mean, I'm certain we've done this church before. It's just for a special order. We don't. We have several churches that order from us, but they kind of mix and match. So sometimes they'll order this week and maybe they won't order next week. For First Baptist, we usually do their arrangement every other week, but they didn't need flowers for the month of April. So we haven't done flowers for them all month. So it just really depends. Okay, so I pulled the pollen out of this lily. I'm cutting it at an angle, and I am going to tuck him right here down low into that foam. There are lots of buds that are going to crack right open, and so it's going to fill that space completely. I'm going to take my next stem. I'm going to kind of stair step all the way up. So 1 step here, 2, and 3.
Miss Mary Lou asks, Monty, what does your shirt say?
It's-
Love that color blue.
This is the Flowers by the Bunch t-shirt. I don't know if you can see my logo on there. But it is one of our t-shirts that's on our website, on our Shopify website. Is that right? I get it wrong every time. I always have to ask Victoria. It's on our Shopify website. And so this is just one of the colors. You've seen me wear my pink one, or kind of that, I guess it's kind of a dusty pink color. But we just received this one in, yesterday or the day before? Victoria had her black one on.
On Tuesday.
Tuesday. So I'm just taking these lilies. Go ahead and remove some of that greenery. If the greenery is pretty, you can leave it on there. But I really don't want it to take away from this arrangement. And if I can very carefully put my fingers down in and pull the pollen, I always try to do that, just because I don't want it to kind of be yucky in that arrangement. All right, there are our lilies. Next, we are going to come in with our, let's see, we're going to come in with some roses. Now, I'm not exactly sure of the variety, because when I pulled the wrap around the roses off, and I did not read the variety, but it's really very pretty. It's a soft pink on the outside of the petals and almost a bubblegum pink down into the center. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these roses and I'm going to clean them up. They have some bumps and bruises out here on the outer petals, so I'm just very carefully removing some of those outer petals. I'm going to throw those away, and then I'm going to go ahead and wire these roses. So what I'm doing is, you can see this little swollen part of the calyx, and I'm going to take my wire and I'm pressing it right down into that calyx. I don't press it very far, just enough to hold the wire, and then I'm going to take that wire and just wrap it right around that stem, just like that. Now what that's going to do is that's going to keep these little heavy heads from dipping. It's going to hold their little heads up, so no matter how, if this arrangement didn't have quite enough water or any circumstance, it is going to keep his little head from dipping. Now we do that with all of our arrangements, especially if the stems are going to stay long. We like to go ahead and wire their little heads. I don't think every flower shop does that, but here at Flowers by the Bunch, it just gives me a little more insurance that I like.
Allison says, oh, I love that variety of rose. So pretty.
Isn't that a pretty variety? I wish I had read the card around it, but I didn't. Okay, so I had already wired one of my roses, so that's the reason I'm not wiring this one, but it is wired. I'm going to take my floral knife and I'm going to remove those thorns just because they bite. So I'm just removing the thorns, and I'm going to figure out exactly where I want these roses in this arrangement. So I think I want one here, kind of in this void right here. So I'm going to take it, cut it at an angle, and tuck him right down in that floral foam.
Rhonda says, such a pretty arrangement. Love the cream, green, and peach color.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So my second rose, I'm going to tuck here, right here in this right underneath, kind of another stair step.
Mary is watching from Ireland. She says, love the color of your t-shirt. Is it available in black?
It is. Actually, Miss Victoria ordered hers in black. Yes, ma'am. It's available in lots of colors. And if you'd like, we will be happy to attach that link to this video so that you can order a t-shirt. So you can see I kind of hold my flowers up to my arrangement to see exactly where I think I might want those flowers.
Miss Linda asks, it says it's so beautiful. Is this a church arrangement?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Don Miller says, I hear Mr. Todd walking around. He must be busy today.
He is ready to go home, Don. He is waiting on Jason to get in that vehicle. Okay, so our next flower is going to be these beautiful white Gerber daisies. Now, my favorite part of this white Gerber, Todd, you're just clicking. What is it? Go tell Jason to go. Go tell Dad. Tell him you're ready. Go tell him. I love the little dark center of that Gerber daisy, and so that's my favorite part of the Gerber. I'm also going to wire these Gerber daisies, and the reason I'm going to wire them is because they're going into floral foam, and floral foam is not their favorite medium to be placed in. They prefer to be in water. They're going to be fine, but this little wire is just a tiny bit of insurance to make sure that their little heads are going to stay in place. They're not going to dip. And so I am going to wire each of these Gerbers. Now you always need to be careful when trying to manipulate their heads. You can see how they kind of have a mind of their own. They don't mind real well. They're not the type of flower that does really what you want it to. They do what they want to do. I'm going to take this wire, and this is the little disc on the back of the flower. I'm going to just press that wire right into that disc, and then I am just going to wrap the wire right around the stem. Now, there are some florists who like to run the wire right down the inside of the stem. For me, that's too much work. But I have worked with flower shops that run that wire. I think he needs to potty. That's what he's telling us, Victoria. You hear him crying? You probably don't. You've got me in your ear. I just have always found that's a lot of work, and every time I try to push it down through that stem, it wants to poke out, so I usually just wire it on the outside of the stem. I've never had anybody complain. Now, you can manipulate their heads just a little bit, but you're going to want to be very careful when doing so, because they're a little brittle, and that little head will pop off in a second. Look, he came right back in. He must have done his business. All right, so I have all of those wired. So we're going to see where we want to tuck these little guys. And so we're just going to kind of tuck them throughout the arrangement. I'm going to start low, and then we're going to move up in the arrangement. Now, when you work with Gerber daisies, you're going to kind of look at them. Most of these are really pretty much the same size. This one looks a little smaller. You're going to want to graduate them in size. And so what I mean by that, see, they're mostly the same size except the top one. So I like to use the smallest bloom toward the top and the largest bloom toward the bottom. And it's just strictly because visually the smaller bloom has less weight than the larger bloom. Honestly, it does not. You know it doesn't, but visually it does. And so that's the reason I like to use the smaller bloom up higher and the larger blooms towards the bottom. And it's the same with color. Color has weight, and that sounds so strange, but I like to just explain it with balloons. All helium balloons weigh the same, right? They all float. If they have helium in them, they all float. But visually, a dark purple balloon is heavier than a pale pink balloon. Jason? Yeah. Okay. So you always, when working with balloons or working with color, darker color goes lower, lighter colors go higher. And it's because visually, lighter colors are lighter in weight than darker colors. And it's the same with size.
Miss Catherine asks, when will you start making things for Memorial Day?
Oh goodness, we got to get really started because it's getting here. We have actually started on some, but we really need to get on that. We have started making cemetery pieces like in vases and such, but we haven't done our stone toppers, and we haven't done a lot of it. But we will start, I mean, as soon as we possibly can. It needs to be done right now.
Miss Kay says the fronds add so much.
Aren't they pretty? They really are lovely.
Miss Marianne says Mother's Day will be here before you know it.
Yes, ma'am. It sure will. It's hard to believe that April will be gone in a minute. It has gone so fast. This year has already gone. We're in month 4, and it's crazy. It'll be Valentine's Day again before we know it, Jason. He loves that. Okay, I'm going to try to get this guy to go down a little further in the arrangement, kind of almost dip down, but you got to be careful with him.
Jackie Craig Lewis says, I have really learned a lot from watching your videos. Thanks.
Oh, of course. I'm so glad you have, Jackie. Thank you for watching. Okay, I'm going to step back because it's hard for me to see when it's way up close. I don't know. I almost think we'd be better off with just 3. I think I like just the line here versus these over here. They almost take away. I think I like that better. I'm going to set those there. We've got some green hypericum berries, so let me flip because I'm in front of the second camera. I'm going to take my hypericum berries, and we're going to use those as filler flower. So we're just going to take those and use those as a little bit of filler. Now what they do is they give us a different texture, and they give us that bright spring green color. Hypericum berries come in several different colors. We just happened to get only green this week. We got a box of green berries, but they're really pretty. I really like them.
Miss Carolina says, looks beautiful, love all the flowers.
Thank you so much. Thank you. On the floor.
Miss Charlotte says, so pretty. Thank you, gals.
Of course. You're welcome, Miss Charlotte. Thank you for being here. So you can see I'm just kind of putting the berries just kind of all over. I'm just using them as my filler. I agree, that palm is so pretty. Okay, so the last flower we're going to use is this beautiful lavender colored carnation. So this is what we call a mini carnation, and I actually got a full case of carnations in this week of the minis. And so we have really been using a lot of mini carnations, and they've made us so happy, haven't they, Victoria? Mm-hmm. So I thought these would be a sweet little added color. Kind of looks so springy and so pretty and so ladylike. So I'm also going to use these mini carnations really as a filler flower, just like I use the berries. So I'm just going to take them and I'm going to spread them throughout the entire arrangement. Now these are exactly like you would, you can open them just like you can a standard carnation. So you're going to just hold that little head and you're going to just open him right up just like you would a standard, very carefully. And the reason you hold those heads is if I started brushing it without holding its little head, I'm going to pop his head off. So just very carefully hold that little head and just open those blooms up.
Miss Carolyn says, loving it, caught you live for the first time in a while.
So glad you're here. Thanks for watching, Miss Carolyn.
Gaetana says, love green. It's my favorite color. So many different shades of green. Love the berries.
And it's so clean, isn't it? It's just such a good color. It's pretty neutral, too. I think it goes with fall, it goes with spring, it goes with everything.
Oh, she also says, love the mini carnations, too. Just the right pop of color. So pretty.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Another thing about mini carnations is they're fairly inexpensive. So you can put them, I mean, you can use a lot of them. They're not expensive, so that's always nice. And they last so long. You never have to worry about losing a carnation. It's going to last and last and last.
I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name. It's either, I think, Kai, Ragsdale says, all your videos are so wonderful. I teach high school floral design and they are very helpful in my class. We just got done with our wedding project and the kids love all your wedding videos. Thank you.
Oh, wow. I'm so glad you are able to use these videos to teach. I am so thankful for that. You are so welcome. And if ever there's anything you need, you need to learn or anything that y'all are going over that you haven't found the video, holler at me and I'm happy to try to help you out. I love that. That's exciting. We have a local high school here that has a horticulture program and I have had the opportunity to go over and teach them and that's so fun to me. So again, I am just using these little mini carnations just as a filler flower.
Sharon Wood says, oh, so pretty. I'm a retired designer from New York.
Oh, wow. I bet that was fun in New York.
Miss Marianne says, mini carnations will last forever. I just change the water every other day and trim a little off the ends. Have had them last for weeks.
Oh, yes, I have too. And that's so fun. It's so fun to see how long they'll last. And there have been times where I think, okay, I'm just throwing you away. I'm just tired. But they'll last so long. Our local grocery store carries carnations. And you know, if I order carnations here in our shop, I have to order too many. Like you almost have to order like 300 carnations, which is too many. I mean, it's just too many for standards. And so our local grocery store, every once in a while, will carry, I mean, you can get like a little bundle of 10. And they carry those purple that are the Moon series, and they're my favorite. And I'm really not a purple girl, but these are my favorite. Like, they are my favorite. And it's in they come in shades of purple, like different pretty purples. I will come home with purple carnations. I own a flower shop and I buy my carnations at the grocery store. But wow, they're so pretty. And they're so fun. I like a card. Now, a lot of people don't like them, but I really like a carnation.
Miss Sophie says, so pretty. Those mini carnations really pop in the arrangement.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so I've just about got all my flowers in place. Next, we are going to take a little bit of eucalyptus and we are going to come around the edge of our container just so that it softens the edge. So these are some little tinies. I can't get deep in that foam, so I'm going to set them over here to the side. So I have some willow eucalyptus that I dropped on the floor. So it's just a little bit of willow. And I'm going to take it and I'm going to cut that edge, and I am just going to go all the way around the edge of this container. And what it does is it really just kind of softens that edge, so it's not so much a flower arrangement sitting on top of an urn. It really kind of softens it.
Oh, they're loving the carnations.
Yay! I'm so glad. Those fuchsia ones you used today were so beautiful. That hot pink was so pretty. Yeah, they have been fun to use this week. We're actually using our carnations as our bouquet of the month this month. And so you get like 6 stems of mini carnations and filler flower and a little bit of greenery. So you can tuck it in a vase when you get home. And I agree, the mini carnations are fun. The wind is so high today.
Mr. Laura says, Monty, I'm so loving this beautiful design.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, Miss Carol says, Monty, you are such a kind and giving person, always willing to help others.
Well, I try. I really am so thankful to be able to share. You know, I didn't know that I was going to be able to teach and anybody care to watch it. And I'm so thankful that y'all enjoy watching what we do and what we teach. And I don't know that everything I say and do is right, but this is how we do it and it works. So, but I'm so thankful y'all are here with us. All right, I'm gonna stand back and see if there's anything it needs. Okay, I'm going to run in this cooler real quick, Victoria. I actually have about $10 left that I can put in there. And so I'm going to walk in there and see if there's anything else that just draws my eye. If nothing else, I may do 3 more roses. So give me just a second. Let me walk in here and see if there's anything that would just add a pop to it.
Okay. I don't know about, I've seen a few comments saying that the sound's a little off or the video's blurry. It's odd because on my screen it looks fine, but it could also be the weather affecting our internet and things like that. So I'm so sorry if it is not coming out completely clear. So let's see. I think it needs Miss Gerber. Hi, Miss Wanda Miller. Yeah, I caught you live, but I'm late. That's all right. She's still designing. Happy that you're here. Sorry if I'm responding weird. I have the audio's delayed in my ear, so I'm trying to talk, and it's also coming in to my ear.
Okay, so I have daisies with yellow centers, but that's a lot. That's going to take over, don't you think? That's a little full.
Miss Deborah Brown suggested having the 2 other Gerbers back on the left side.
Do you think tuck the Gerbers here? Or what do you think about these smaller white cremones tucked in?
Those cremones are pretty.
Because then they'll just kind of sprinkle throughout and not have to be such large vases. If we don't like them, we'll pull them out and we'll put them in another arrangement, right? So we're going to try that. Let's see what we think about that.
Okay. Yay, I'm glad that it's looking good for y'all. Miss Linda Sue, you have some storms to the southwest of you headed your way. Maybe that could influence.
That's probably our wind.
A couple people were saying the audio and video was a little.
It could be a little wonky because of y'all. The wind is like crazy out there.
I'm so glad though that I can like ask you guys how it's looking and if the video's all right, and then y'all can give us feedback. That is so nice.
Do you like that? And then tuck maybe 1 and 2 over here.
That is pretty. I do like the cones.
I think that kind of fills it up just a little bit, but doesn't have quite as heavy of a flower.
Oh, Dawn says, I think the middle daisy needs to be moved over.
Move to the right or move to the center? Like here? Or more there? I don't want it to be a perfect line though. Or is it this one down here and come over?
She said, Miss Carolyn says, add something yellow. Melissa Flores says, what about purple mums?
I didn't have any purple, Melissa. I have white. And if I had purple paint, I would do purple paint and pop those. But I don't have any purple mums. I have yellow daisies, but they're real chunky. See how big this, that's one stem. And I felt like that would really take away. I think that's better.
Yeah, I think that's pretty.
Now the reason I chose to use longer lasting flowers is because this arrangement, I do think he's going to move over a smidge, but we'll tend to that once it's over, once we finish with the video. A lot of times when you're standing this close to an arrangement, it's hard to kind of see the whole picture. Versus you are sitting back there and kind of looking at it and watching it as it goes along, so it's a little easier. But once the video's over, I will stand back and look at it and see if anything needs to move. Now the reason I chose to use longer lasting flowers is because this arrangement will be used for Sunday morning, so it will get delivered to the church on Saturday afternoon, and it will be used Sunday morning for church in loving memory of this sweet lady, and then it will be used for her memorial service on Sunday afternoon. So I needed flowers that were going to last and be happy for a long period of time. So that's the reason we didn't use any hydrangeas. I have beautiful calla lilies, but they're not always happy in foam. We have ranunculus back there, not always happy in foam. So I wanted longer lasting blooms. So that's the reason I chose the beautiful mini carnations, the beautiful white lilies. The Gerber daisies will be pretty happy, but everything else is going to be just fine. And I will watch the Gerber daisies, so if I feel like they're not too happy in this foam, we will pull them and change them out. But I think it's pretty. I think it's what I really wanted it. I wanted it delicate to look really more like a sweet lady, and I think that's exactly what it looks like. I may have to adjust a few flowers, but that always happens, so that's not a big deal. Any more questions, Miss Victoria, or any more comments?
Oh, they're all saying it's gorgeous.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Melanie Gomez on YouTube, I missed it earlier, which I think is a good design question because I've never thought about it. But she asks, are the Gerber daisies distracting if they're in a line like that?
I don't know. I never really thought of it.
Because I've seen some flowers like that placed in lines before, and I've never really thought anything of it.
I really thought, to me, it really just kind of draws your attention to, I only have 3 stems. I'm going to move him over just a little bit because I feel like you'll feel better once he goes over just a smidge. If I can get him in that foam. There he goes. So it's really kind of more in a diagonal than it is a straight line. I prefer that a little more. But I don't know. I don't know. That's not a good answer, is it? Mm-hmm. To say I do not know. I just didn't want, I don't know. I don't want them to, you always have to do, I try when I have such a focal flower to do 3 to 5. I do odd numbers usually. I don't want 2 because I don't want it to look like something's looking back at you, because it certainly could. I don't know. What do you think, Victoria?
I like it. I think it's pretty. I think it's beautiful. They're saying it's sweet, it's beautiful as always.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Carl says it's a fitting tribute to the lady.
Isn't it a sweet lady arrangement? I think it's a perfect lady arrangement with those pretty colors. So soft and pretty.
Oh, Miss Melanie on YouTube says that's better.
Is that better? Yes. I think once I moved him over, I think he was too much in a line. And so once I moved our bottom Gerber over, I think that helped.
Oh, and Sweet Bride says that's better. I think the reality is you tread from the left to the right, so your eyes will go left to right. It's how the, I guess it's how
yes,
the, it's
how you visually
balanced,
look.
maybe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I tend to get heavier on the right-hand side, and I think it's a lot to do with me being right-handed. I've had several people say, Monty, you have too many flowers on the right. And so I think maybe it's because I'm right-handed and I tend to put things, I don't know. This is, I don't even know.
I think it's gorgeous. They're saying it's
you.
pretty.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Well, all right. Is that it? Have we got any more questions? Guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for helping answer questions as we design. It's so much fun to actually have you with me, and somebody can tell me what they think, and we can move things around. If it doesn't work, we can always change it, right? And that's the wonderful part about floral design, is that it's not in stone. We can move it if we need to. It's not a big deal. And that's one thing I've always liked about flowers. I decorated cakes for a long period of time, which I found to be terribly stressful, because if a cake got messed up, well, it was messed up. But if a flower breaks, you can pull him right out and put a new one in there. There's no stress to that. Or I felt like there wasn't. A lot less stress in floral design than cake decorating, in my opinion. If you have any questions about how we design or how we do anything here at the flower shop, you know you can always ask. We are so happy to answer some questions. We actually had a sweet lady out of Tennessee call today and ask about Budsy, our flower grower. She was asking me all kinds of questions, and I'm so happy to answer your questions. Actually, it's really fun. And the fact that you trust me with those answers, that's fun. Guys, I hope you have a wonderful evening. If you have anything you'd like to see us do, please don't hesitate to drop that in the comments or send us a message. We'd be happy to. We like suggestions. It makes it a little easier and really kind of fun. Hope you have a wonderful evening, and we will be back tomorrow.